There is a legend that tells the story of the wind. The wind was looking for a home, and then it found this prairie land, flanked to the east by hills and to the west by desert. A country wide and free and lonesome. And it said, "I'll stay here." This, too, it said, that all the creatures who would share this country would feel something of this spirit and be restless. And so they were. The wind has brothers. The buffalo that held the secret of thunder in their feet. Buffalo that raised great clouds of dust to mark their passage. Restless herds that claimed this land as if they would live forever. The first men in this land were Indians. Indians who followed the buffalo and used his flesh for food, his hide for clothing, and teepees and drums to talk to their gods with. And they were restless too, these brothers of the wind.
I'm a poor lonesome cowboy, a poor lonesome cowboy. I'm a poor lonesome cowboy and a long way from home. I ain't got no father, I ain't got no mother, and I ain't got no brother to buy the clothes I wear. I'm a poor lonesome cowboy, a poor lonesome cowboy. I'm a poor lonesome cowboy and a long way from home.
Well, I figure I was one of the first. Names don't matter. But I come up the old Texas Trail driving a herd of longhorns to Kansas back in the 60s. Took us a long time to cross Indian territory, but what I remember best was the nights when the cattle was bedded. The nights when the stars were so close. If you reached up your hand from the back of a horse, you could almost touch him.
Eyes like a morning star, cheeks like a rose. Laura was a pretty girl, God Almighty knows. Weep all you little rains, wail, wind, wail. All along, along, along the Colorado Trail. 1,000 miles of mountain road, 10,000 miles of sand. If ever I travel this road again, I'll be a married man. Weep all you little rains, wail, winds, wail. All along, along, along the Colorado Trail.
first cowmen crossed the territory, they fattened their cattle on grass that was belly high. They saw the rivers brimming with water and the cottonwood shade calling for a house with roses lining up the porch. From the time they first saw this virgin land, the days of the Indian Territory were numbered.
I, Benjamin Harrison, President of the United States, by virtue of the power vested in me by said act of Congress, approved March 2nd, 1889, do hereby declare and make known.
April 22nd, 1889. It's 11:57 now, according to my watch, and the thousands of people gathered along the line are getting a little more restless as time goes on. Now, most of the men and women making the run today are in wagons. Some are riding horses, but I saw a couple of men a few minutes ago on bicycles, would you believe it? It's a perfect day, mild and comfortable, and there's a slight breeze. Now, this is the first land run in American history, and the soldier who is going to fire the shot for this section of the line, I think he's a corporal. He keeps looking at his watch, and I imagine he wants to make sure that he fires his pistol at exactly 12. Yes, everybody is ready to make the race. There's no doubt about that. It's almost noon.
Sure, I made the run. I didn't know what I was letting myself in for, but I made it. Well, things was so tough that a crow come along and gobbled up my first wheat harvest before I could get to town with it. And then that crow sat there complaining because he was still hungry. Well, now, I wasn't used to the plains. There wasn't any trees to build with, so we scooped a hole out in the ground and made us a sod house and went to living in it. Well, it wasn't easy, but it was our land and we stayed.
Oh, I'm feeling rather seedy now while holding down my claim. My victuals are not always of the best, and the mice play shyly round me as I settle down to rest in my little old sod shanty in the west. Oh, the hinges made of leather and the windows have no glass, and the board roof lets the howling blizzard in. I hear the hungry coyote as he sneaks up through the grass round my little old sod shanty on the claim. Oh, when I left my eastern home, a bachelor so gay, to try and win my way to wealth and fame, I little thought that I'd come down to burnin' twisted hay in my little old sod shanty on the claim. The hinges made of leather and the windows have no glass, and the board roof lets the howling blizzard in. And I hear the hungry coyote as he sneaks up through the grass round my little old sod shanty on the claim. How I wish that some kind-hearted girl would pity on me take and relieve me of this mess that I am in. Oh, the angel, how I'd bless her if this her home she'd make in my little old sod shanty on the claim. The hinges made of leather and the windows have no glass, and the board roof lets the howling blizzard in. And I hear the hungry coyote as he sneaks up through the grass round my little old sod shanty on the claim.
More than the rifle, more than the proclamations from Washington. These were the things that built a new state. The hammer, the saw, and the sounds of men building homes and stables and barns and stores. First, Oklahoma Territory, and then the Cherokee Strip, the runs and lotteries, with towns springing up all over the woods and prairie. The territory was growing as fast as the wheat and the cotton. People were moving in from anywhere and everywhere because this was new, and this was big, and this was something to grow with and to be a part of. But this is a restless land, and the people are restless too. No sooner than a man sees the roof on his house and the crops in the barn than he wants something more than he has. And now he has come to the time of deserving, which justifies his wanting.
Seems to me that it's about time we stopped being a territory and started being a state.
My children are growing up. They're going to need a college to go to.
Takes too long to get to town. We're going to have roads.
These were the voices of people restless to build, to make something better, impatient for roots to go down and take hold in the trees to make leaves and shade. So they worked harder, and schools grew, and roads threaded the prairies, connecting the farms and the towns and the cities. Churches sprang up, and libraries, and there was more time for pleasure.
All I want in this creation, pretty little wife in the Indian nation. Hey, black-eyed Susie, hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie, hey. Well, all I need to make me happy, two little boys to call me pappy. Hey, black-eyed Susie, hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie, hey. Well, all I need is two little babies, one named Sop and the other named Gravy. Hey, black-eyed Susie, hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie, hey. How old are you, my pretty little miss? How old are you, my honey? She answered me with a ha-ha, I'll be 16 next Monday. We make our living in Sandyland, make our living in Sandyland, make our living in Sandyland. Fare thee well, my honey. Where do you live, my pretty little miss? Where do you live, my honey? I live way down in a sandy draw, and I live there with my mummy. We make our living in Sandyland, make our living in Sandyland, make our living in Sandyland. Fare thee well, my honey. Flies in the buttermilk, skip to Maloo, flies in the buttermilk, skip to Maloo, flies in the buttermilk, skip to Maloo, my darling. I ain't got a red bird, blackbird'll do, ain't got a red bird, blackbird'll do, ain't got a red bird, blackbird'll do, skip to Maloo, my darling. Gone again, skip to Maloo, gone again, skip to Maloo, gone again, skip to Maloo, my darling. Skip to Maloo, my darling, skip to Maloo, my darling, skip to Maloo, my darling.
Yes, our literary society used to get together once a week to talk about art and music, and I played the dulcimer to lighten the time.
But there was still one wanting to be filled.
Seems to me it's about time we stopped being a territory and started being a state.
His voice was not alone now.
We want statehood. We want statehood. We want statehood. We want statehood.
So a resolution was entered in Congress, and legislation was passed.
Now, therefore, I, Theodore Roosevelt, President of the United States, declare and announce that the state of Oklahoma is to be deemed admitted by Congress into the Union on an equal footing with the original states.
1907, and Oklahoma became a state. There was a little trouble locating the state capital. So many places wanted it. Guthrie had it, and then in the middle of the night, something happened. And when the sun rose again, it was in Oklahoma City.
Yes, sir. We were pretty sore at first in Guthrie, but after a while, we figured, well, maybe it was better to work building a state than it was fighting over a capital.
Beneath the restless wind, The plows had broken the plains and the fences had gone up to hold them. Due east and west and north and south, the survey men mapped the state, this place called Oklahoma. But underneath the wheat fields and the cross timbers, the drills of a new industry were changing the life of the state.
From across the Cromwell field come a bird with wings of steel, trailing out a loud and mournful cry. Follow me, I heard him tell, I will lead you straight to hell, and bring you in a gusher by and by. Oh yes, the dicky bird was singing, yes, the dicky bird was singing. The dicky bird was singing on the beam. Yes, the dicky bird was singing, the dicky bird was singing. The dicky bird was singing on the beam.
I followed the boom from Bartlesville to Kiefer to Cromwell and Seminole. Yes, sir, I guess I wildcatted 200 holes that never drew more than dust. But I hit it, too. I had wells that greased the crown block and blew for a week without letting up. You know, there's nothing prettier than a gusher singing. When I stopped wildcatting and went into the lease business, say, I could still hear those pumps working at night. Just up and down, pulling that oil right out of the ground.
Oil from beneath the earth, crops from the rich soil of the surface, and great cities grew. Progress lifted man from the earth and gave him wings. Progress, an industry, the sounds of man growing bigger and building his state and watching his children grow. All of this in the space of a lifetime. All of this in the memory of people still living.
I made the run, driving a team of horses.
See this 160 acres? Why, when I first got here, there was nothing but empty prairie. I homesteaded this land, and I've been putting my life into it. My sons will keep building it.
I saw the first airplane in Oklahoma.
I saw the first automobile.
Well, I was here before either of them things was thought of.
All of this in a lifetime. From nothing to something. From little to big. And why?
Wheat.
Oil. Money.
No. People. And what they're made of. And something more. Something more. Restless people. People with an urge to do more, build more. People listening to the voice of the wind. That's the story of Oklahoma. Half a century now, and still this is the beginning. This is the beginning.